One thing that I've noticed is that people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends. It really is all about who you know, and a lot of it is about being in the right place at the right time. There's a billion real estate agents out there. You've got to find something that makes you unique. Since I was a child, one of my passions was just sketching cars. I'm Mark Quesada. I'm the president and founder of Black Label Realty here in San Diego. Originally from Chicago, first generation American. My mother was from Sicily. Father came from Cuba when he was about 17 years old, made his way from Miami to Chicago. My father was an engineer, semi-retired, and is actually working for me down in Florida. My mother came from Sicily and they opened a bakery in the Chicago suburbs. I'm 40 years old. Since I was a child, one of my passions was just sketching cars. I've always absolutely just loved the shape of cars, the sound of cars, the technology. For some reason, it's just something that I think I was born with. I remember being in math class in like 7th grade and everyone's learning about whatever they were learning. And I probably retained 2% of what was being taught because I spent the majority of my time just sketching Corvettes and Lamborghinis and Ferraris. And that's just the only thing that I could ever think of. I am a brokerage owner, so I employ real estate agents. We obviously facilitate transactions, so we represent buyers, sellers, investors, first-time home buyers, all walks through their transactions. We service San Diego County, Riverside County, and we also have satellite offices in Chicago, Tampa, and Miami. Back in around like 2008, I was actually working for a company called Washington Mutual back then, and we were issuing second loans and lines of credits on people's homes who most likely probably shouldn't have been given their first mortgages. Needless to say, that business went under, and I had to find a new walk of life, a new career path. I found two that I took advantage of. One was bartending, and then the other was real estate. I went down the path of real estate during probably the worst possible time that one could have entered that career choice. The majority of agents were leaving the industry while I was throwing myself to the wolves and trying to find a way to make it work. And somehow, some way, I found a path that worked. Real estate was, at that time, relatively new to being searchable online. Zillow and Redfin and all these sites started to pop up. I just saw that happen and jumped on it. And within a year or so, I raced through the ranks of the office. I had so much business to where I couldn't be in multiple places at once. And I just started recruiting bartenders and servers to help me with inspections and take on clients. I had spent some time going from Chicago to Florida, where my family's from, had a network of people that saw what I was doing in Chicago that were wanting to get involved. And so I took them under my wing and expanded out to Tampa and Miami. And I just took a lot of agents under my wing, mentored them, showed them how to get leads, how to work a transaction, and most importantly, how to make it less transactional. I think that's what made me very successful, is the actual relationships. We didn't make it about the sales. One thing that I've noticed is that people hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends. So when you can take that relationship and make it a little more meaningful and real and less transactional, those types of clients will stick around for generations. We all are creatures of habit, and as soon as something starts to change, we get scared and we either run or we fight. The face of the real estate market was changing drastically, and a lot of people just didn't want to deal with it. They were scared. But that meant that there was a new thing coming. When one door closes, another one opens. So we saw the real estate market shift, but then what happened? We had tons of short sales, tons of foreclosures, and that is what I really focused on. There were websites out there that were targeted just to these types of properties, and that's where I found my niche. We found a lot of buyers who were trying to find something and didn't know that there were like third-party websites outside of the MLS or outside of these websites where you could find short sales and foreclosures. So I think that's where I really found a way to make it happen. It was crazy just to see how things had been done for so long in the real estate industry, and then technology came along and when the market shifted. So you had to really just kind of take it by the reins and take advantage of the change. Both finding the niche and then obviously the implementation of technology. I had received a cold call while I was bartending, and it was Zillow pitching me on buying a zip code in Chicago. The rep was like, it's $250 a month. If you sign up, then you'll get X amount of leads. And I remember thinking at the time, like, $250, that's my car payment. Like, what am I going to do? Like, that's a lot of money, but maybe I should do it. And then before I knew it, 2 months down the road, I was the top lead salesperson in my office because Zillow was just feeding me and feeding me and feeding me. It kind of became evident to me that I needed help. I used the restaurant and the bar as a tool for recruiting and hiring. And before I knew it, we were in the top 15, then 10% in the entire Midwest. And it was an evolution that I was not prepared for. But when real estate came knocking on my door, I answered. I mean, just in general, and as cliche as it sounds, I mean, your network is your net worth, right? It really is all about who you know, and a lot of it is about being in the right place at the right time. If I asked a room of people to raise their hands and tell me how many real estate agents they knew, if they knew of any, everyone would raise their hand. We all know real estate agents, right? There's got to be something that's going to make you stand out and connect with those people. And if you can't get in front of a room of people and announce who you are, what you do, and what makes you different, then you're never going to connect. So you've got to find a network. You've got to find your club or your group or whatever that might be to get out there and explain what makes you different and who you are. And those connections usually will go beyond the transactions. As long as you're authentic and your real self, I think that you'll connect with like-minded clients. When I was in Chicago, we had a much different network. It was the restaurant scene, the bar scene. It was a totally different clientele. And then when we relocated to San Diego, the biggest thing was finding friends and finding a network. And that's where Fastlane came into the picture. I randomly just one day decided to buy a Ferrari. I don't know what it was, but I saw a great deal. Picked up the Ferrari. We still didn't have really any friends or anyone to go to restaurants with. And Instagram popped up with Fastlane. That, over the years, has become not only just a network, but my family. These people have had so much support and have always pushed me along the way to be more than what I was. Without them, I don't know where I would be, or would I even be in San Diego still? I'm not sure, but they definitely grounded us and gave us the energy to push through. Our Fastlane network is probably our biggest network. One of the things we're doing to develop our network is our events. I think just getting out there and being a part of the community is really the best way to grow your network. You have to get that exposure, and I think that's one of the best ways to do it, is just to invite everybody out, to show them who you are, and it's always nice to give back. March 27th, we're going to be having another networking event. It's going to be one of our quarterly events. We'll be doing it at Camino. This is March 27th at 5 o'clock. It'll go to about 8. We'll be doing a red bottom giveaway, so we're giving away Christian Louboutins to one lucky winner. We're going to be giving away some Padres tickets. I think we're going to have 20 to give away, but it'll be a great event. First out of the 4 for this year. It's an open invite. Anyone that wants to come is welcome to show up and learn about investing or building ADUs, or come meet us and the team. It'll be a good time. I will say it's absolutely exhausting. Dominique, my fiance, she's always like, why are your clients so friendly with you? And they're like your friends. Should this be more of a work relationship? I really don't think that that's possible. You cross these boundaries when you're helping somebody find their home. And if you don't, then I think that the relationship's probably going to be pretty dry. It's something that just comes naturally to me. I think that you really need to focus on cultivating relationships. While it is exhausting, I absolutely love it. And our schedules are from Monday through Friday filled with dinners with friends, dinners with clients, going to see a show with somebody. And once you get to that point of being able to call a client your friend, I think that the referrals and the business that flows in naturally from that is just exponential. I mean, I think just being authentic. Don't be a salesperson. And that's something I preach to all the agents that work to me. You are not a salesperson. While we are in sales, our job is not to sell people. We're advisors. I think one of the best ways to gain their trust is just by being honest. I've told a number of clients, this is not the house for you. I know you love it. There's a lot of corners that were cut, or there's things that maybe you don't see that we need to stand back and take a better look at this. I think when your client can realize that you're not just hungry for a commission and you really want them to succeed and have a good investment, it's going to go a long way. I can think of 2 instances. One of them seemed like the craziest advice that I had ever received, but it pushed me to succeed more than I ever thought I would. I remember it was shortly after I had quit the restaurant scene and decided I was going to take on real estate full time. And my managing broker at the time, his name was Dennis. I went in and talked to him. I was driving a Volkswagen that I absolutely hated. I had nothing but problems, and I just didn't feel confident in driving it. But there was this luxury car that I was in love with, and it was on the showroom floor. I went to him and asked, what do you think I should do? I think this could catapult my business. If I get it, it's going to make me look more successful, but the price of the car is up there. I remember he told me it's probably the smartest thing to do is to get rid of the Volkswagen and buy that car. Although it sounded crazy because I couldn't afford it, it was the best thing I ever did because I'd never looked back. I never noticed that car payment come out of my bank account, and it just pushed me to work harder and harder and harder. I will say that my car payments since have grown to be larger and larger and larger. That advice, looking back in hindsight, was the best thing that I could have gotten. The car has definitely brought me business in some aspects. You have to know your audience. There's certainly been times when I've shown up with my Ferrari to a client's house to go list their home, and it's backfired. While we want to convey that we're successful and that we know what we're talking about, this is a trophy and it's evidence that I've been successful throughout my career, some clients don't see it that way, and they see it as being flashy and throwing it in their face and I'm going to overcharge you. I've definitely gotten that from it. So you have to be very conscious of who you're talking to and what you bring around them. It's just like when you're working with contractors. I think a lot of people know that if you show up to a job site in a Maybach, then your contractors are probably going to up the price. You show up in a minivan, they might be more willing to work with you. The other piece of advice was, what's your and? Moving to San Diego, I was working with Ryan Serhant from $1 Million Listing. He was my coach and my mentor. And one of the things that he's always preached was, you got to find your and. What makes you different? What makes you stand out? So if you can find something that makes you unique, something that makes you stand out, for me, it's I like exotic cars. I like going out to eat. And we spend more time on social media posting about that stuff. People are more engaged in what your and is, or what else is about you that makes you unique. The worst advice I've ever received is don't mix business and friends. I was a little skeptical of that, but I can honestly say that the majority of the agents that work for me, whether it be in Chicago or Florida or San Diego, have become not only friends, but family. When you can take the approach of, I'm not just your boss, I'm not just your mentor, I want to take this outside of that and dig into your life and you dig into my life, and we become kind of like ingrained in each other's business and lives, then I think that the relationship can flourish in ways that it normally wouldn't if you just keep it business oriented. I've heard this from many people. Are you sure you want to hire that person? That's like your best friend. Or are you sure you want to get that close with that agent of yours? Like, you should keep this more business related. I've yet in 20 years had that bite me. I think it's just something I do a little differently, but I like to have a very close relationship with everyone that works with me. I would have done this a long time ago. Real estate is a catapult for not just me, but for anybody who gets involved in it at an early age or at an old age, at any point in life. It will change things for you. I got involved in real estate when I was 23 years old about. If there was a way to have done this when I was 18, 19 years old and started investing and picking up apartment buildings, who knows where I'd be today. But that's something I think about regularly. Is I wish I would have bought more real estate. I wish I would have invested more, and I wish I would have started my brokerage a long time ago. Someone once told me that the best time to plant a tree, although it might have been in the past, is today. People who say tomorrow, I'm going to do it tomorrow, like, get up and do it. Like, there's nothing stopping you from investing today. A lot of people are afraid to start. It just seems daunting, right? Buying a house seems like such an extravagant thing to do, and it's so difficult, especially in California where the prices are so steep. I think if you start the phone calls and start the conversations with the people that are in the industry, I think you'll find that it's a lot easier. The San Diego market especially appreciates at such a rapid rate that if you can invest today, if you could find a way to invest today, you will never look back and regret that. Property values skyrocket here. So I think if you can get a hold of something, it doesn't have to be your end all be all, the house you're going to be in for the rest of your life, but you should definitely take the time to figure out if you can make an investment. Say you don't have the money or don't even want to purchase something and be a landlord yourself. There's funds where you can collectively invest with groups and buy portfolios of real estate together and reap the returns from that. So there's all different aspects of real estate that you can invest in. Usually when you go that route, you're going to be spending a little bit less. But for like a first-time home buyer, we're talking, 3.5% down for an FHA loan? A lot of money, but it's not crazy. A lot of people think that you need 20% down or hundreds of thousands of dollars to afford a home. Like I said, you don't have to buy your last house. Start somewhere, start small if you have to. Believe it or not, I would usually stay away from big banks. You usually want to work with some sort of a broker. We've curated relationships over the past 20 years that we believe to be the cream of the crop. And depending on your situation, there's always a different person that I might connect you with. We've helped a number of Fast Lane members here who own their own businesses and are trying not to pay an arm and a leg in taxes. And because of that, they don't know that there's other avenues for financing that aren't the normal QM or conventional ways of getting a home. Like, a lot of people are afraid to take on an acquisition right now because they're afraid of the rates. The past 10 years, people were so used to 3%, 4% interest rates. And now people are seeing 6, 7%, and they're afraid to make a purchase. They're waiting for those rates to come down, and they see what your payment's going to be as opposed to what it might have been 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, they've almost doubled. But a lot of people don't realize that the second those rates come down, what's going to happen? You're going to get a bunch more buyers out there in the market. And what happens when there's more demand? Prices go up again. So doesn't it make more sense to buy something now and then refinance when the rates come down? They always say you marry the house and you date the rate. But what I would say is there's other options out there. You have less competition as a buyer right now. There's not a lot of buyers out there looking because the rates are so much higher. And because of this, we're usually able to get a better deal for our buyers. It's not all about the return. It's not all about the money that you make or gain or lose. It's about, what do they say? The more miles, the more smiles, right? So I have a good time in my cars, and I don't buy them because of the appreciation or to let them sit in a garage and be garage queens. I take them out. I enjoy them. One of my favorite cars is the Koenigsegg Jesko. I just think that thing is absolutely beautiful. It's fast. and it's extremely rare. People are probably gonna hate me for saying this, but I think the most overrated car is the Porsche 911 Turbo S. I just think Porsche in general they're beautiful cars, but they all look so similar, and I think a lot of people will agree. They don't look exotic to me, and I just love the shapes and the lines of Lamborghinis and Paganis and Koenigsegg's. I just think that they're so unique, and a lot of Porsches just all look very similar. They may be more comfortable, I'll give it that. They just don't wow me as much. The best daily driver, in my opinion, is something big. I'm a big guy. Getting into my McLaren is definitely not something that I like to do as a daily, going to the grocery store. It's hard getting in and out, especially when those doors go up. I would have to say some sort of a large SUV. I really like the Cullinan a lot. A nice sized Bentley would be good, something that's comfort. I'm a creature of comfort, so I much prefer that to speed. And now that I'm getting older, I like my air-conditioned seats. Massaging seats are great. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions about real estate, investing, buying, selling, or anything, feel free to reach out. You can connect with us at blacklabelrealty.com. And thanks for being a part of Fast Lane Drive.